am so happy. Now it's muggy outside in the shop. I know wherever you are around the world, you may be experiencing some different kind of weather. But right here in the shop, it's a little bit muggy. But I'll take it, y'all. Because not only is it muggy, it's still warm. And I love me some hot weather. We got a hot show for you today, speaking of hot. And I want you to keep it locked and stay tuned. Because don't go nowhere. We got way more this year right here on the Brunch Bunch.
It's invading your peace. Don't let bugs, rodents,
all right. What's up, y'all?
Call RB Pest
All right.
Solutions.
Got my glasses on.
Serving our community.
Actually, I'm taking my glasses off.
Receive a special discount on your first service. Take
control
today and say goodbye
to
unwanted guests. Call RB Pest Solutions now at 312-217-9605. That's 312-217-9605. RB Pest Solutions. Protecting what
now,
matters
Reverend
most to you.
Be fabulous. Be social.
Be queef. What did you say?
Be outspoken.
You said
Be fabulous.
Shannon Sharp. Is he out of his legal troubles?
A new luxury brand from Tamara Faye. Squeeze comes in 2 distinct fragrances.
Have we talked about Diddy at all?
Pure Royale.
You see how they look?
Forbidden Kiss.
They celebrated outside.
Go to bequeeze.com and get your favorite
Where?
fragrance today. That's BEQUESE.com. Bequeeze.com.
He was only not guilty on a couple of charges. On the serious charges, right?
Visit our website, WINSday.com. Attorney Flanagan has settled millions of dollars in cases for car crashes, truck cases,
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
I'll tell you what's different.
What was the difference?
So it makes sense why Murder was celebrating.
Oh yeah.
Murder was definitely.
You know what? Something is wrong with y'all. Seriously.
But it's true. It's true. It's
I'm
really.
talking about the way y'all come up with stuff. What was the difference? Quick, faster than hurry. Murder.
Because it's true. Oh yeah.
This is
Michael Jackson. You're crazy. All right, something is going on with my.
Safety isn't optional. It's a necessity. That's why we trust Secure Home and Automation.
Something's going on,
and
I want you to keep checking it because when it goes out, I need you to put it back on.
Offering an exclusive deal for
My
new
Instagram,
customers.
yes. Okay, gotcha.
Don't wait until it's too late. Call 866-447-3344.
That's right. Call Secure Home and Automation today at 866-447-3344 and take control of your safety. That's 866-447-3344.
We're in the raw with Tamara Fair on the Brunch Bunch.
So we were talking about global and national news. Let's bring it all home to Chicago, y'all, because Mayor Johnson is seriously considering City Council Dean Walter Burnett to run Chicago's Housing Authority. As you know, CHA has been out of a lead for a while now, but Mayor Johnson is seriously considering longtime Alderman Walter Burnett Jr. to lead the CHA, a move that would mark a significant shift for both the CHA and the City Council. Burnett, the council's longest-serving member and chair of its powerful zoning committee, said that he would be honored to take the role and is ready to step away from the council after nearly 30 years of service. He even hinted at the possibility of his 29-year-old son stepping to fill his shoes and his seat in the 27th Ward. So for Burnett, the CHA job would be a full circle moment. So born in Rockwell Gardens and raised in Cabrini Green, he has deep ties to Chicago public housing system. He called the role a dream job and emphasized how his personal experience would inform his approach, particularly his focus on mentoring residents and pushing for pathways to home ownership. Well, Mayor Johnson echoed that sentiment, praising Burnett's unique perspective and compassion, saying his lived experience is exactly what is needed to address the city's affordable housing challenges. Well, the CHA board is expected to vote on a new CEO later this month, and you know we're already, today is the 9th, we're already like a quarter of a way through the month. And so if Burnett is selected, Mayor Johnson would have to appoint a new alderperson, a new vice mayor, and a new chair for the zoning committee. 3 influential roles that could significantly reshape city council's dynamics. Well, Burnett's potential departure signals more than just a political shift. It represents a generational handoff and a deepening of Johnson's commitment to grassroots leadership rooted in lived experiences. What better person to actually be the head of CHA than someone who comes from CHA Housing Project? Well, Burnett, who was pardoned in 1998 for a conviction he received at 17, sees this possible new chapter as a continuation of his public service legacy. And you know what? A lot of people that come from public housing have charges, and he would actually be the symbol of what you can be. You know, we always say the adage of you can't be what you can't see. So a lot of people feel like they're stuck, but he would be the symbol of unstuck. So whether at the CHA or still in city council, he says he's grateful for the opportunity to serve and ready to help rebuild the very communities that raised him to be the powerhouse that he is today. Speaking of being what you can't see, you mighty sharp.
Well, I thought I looked nice for you yesterday because you kept giving E all the compliments.
Yeah, you know, jealousy will give you some inspiration. But you know what, I'm excited.
I wonder what this is about. And I would like to really know. You know, this is Chicago. So luckily, it's the mayor will be on with us tomorrow, Friday.
Oh, nice.
And we'll be able to ask him. But, you know, Walter Burnett is an amazing guy, elected official.
And person.
I
mean, irrespective of what his
guy.
Yeah. But irrespective of what his job is, he is a human.
Yeah.
A lot of times you meet people in these different positions of power and they exhibit their power. He exhibits at all times his humanness.
Yes, he does. And so let's pray that the vote is passed.
Yeah.
He gets the job because he'll move from a elected position to a appointed position.
Yeah.
And that's a job. But
and his son is great too.
Oh yeah, of course. Oh my homie and my new state rep.
All right.
Yeah,
so he would actually leave being a state rep to be an alderman?
Yeah.
You
know what? I was a little late, so I'll be honest. I missed that part. I didn't know. I knew that they would have to appoint a new alderman. I didn't know that they mentioned it.
Well, they're saying that he may be the person that they would appoint, but you would leave a state rep job.
Oh, of course.
To become a city
Now that's
alderman.
A better job to be an alderman than a state representative because you don't have to keep traveling to Springfield. And you can evoke local change. So most people would rather, and it's a more powerful position as a alderman than a state rep. So I see that, but leaving the alderman position to
I
a
don't
job.
Know, because I'm looking at the power of the purse strings, and typically we talk about this a lot. Why would you campaign for a job that's paying you, say, anywhere between $75,000 and $150,000 a year, and you spent double that in order to campaign, right? So the power is usually the answer as to why you would do that. So if you look at the power of a state rep, you got statewide power, right? You also have a line item allocation that you can disperse as you need so that you can make sure that your state and your districts are actually exhibiting the kind of commerce that you want it to look like, right? You don't have that kind of power at the city.
Right. But
you have that kind of power, but you don't have as much budget.
Right, you don't have as much budget, but I think it's more of a power play. And if you think of this, like most state elected officials will run for like the mayor of Chicago. And it's like, why when you can keep that purse strings and do all...
It's different when you talk about the mayor of Chicago and the alderman.
City elected officials have a little more weight than state.
That's debatable. I mean, arguably, it depends. It depends on what that person, that community, that grassroots organization is trying to accomplish.
When I was interested in politics, I would always say I would not run for a state elected position because I'm about the community and I want to help evoke local change. So I can get more done as an alderman and see the fruition of it and be hands and boots on the ground versus being a state representative.
It's perspective.
Yeah, it is definitely perspective.
Yeah.
So we're going to pray. This is interesting.
This is very interesting. Well, you know what? as we always do here on the Brunch Special, we're going to keep you apprised of these proceedings and make sure. Now, this vote is coming up soon, so we're going to make sure that we keep you abreast. Because a lot of times people get their news from us, so we got to make sure that we're giving out the right information and the most updated information. In the meantime, in between time, if you guys are not looking at us and listening to us on our socials, you're missing a treat today because Marcel looked better than a biscuit and egg sandwich. Well, croissant sandwich.
Well,
Y'all,
thank you very much.
you are absolutely welcome. You guys stay tuned. We getting ready to get down right here on the Brunch Bunch. Oh boy.
Ooh, thank you, Jesus. Today has been a day.
I can tell because you're here, not somewhere else.
And you know what? Almost to the finish line. Stuff is just moving. I said the devil is a lie. It's just moving so slow.
No, the devil has to keep trying.
And he ain't gonna win over here.
No,
he ain't gonna win over here.
Because when you got divine faith, you're gonna get divine intervention.
And it is happening. To
God
God be the glory.
Well, you know what the Lord says: be anxious for nothing, and your anxiousness really resonates the kind of message you don't want to send to Him.
That's
because it denotes that you do not have the faith in His power because you are actually anxious. That's what cured me of my. That right there was what cured me of
you
my.
You want to bring the guests in?
My flight anxiety.
Well, you're right. And one of the first things that I heard when I woke up this morning is that God is the God of demonstration. You just
not conversation.
Not conversation, not anxiousness. Just he will demonstrate his power.
Your angst ain't nothing when you talking about the power of the Lord. Like everything that looks impossible in the natural is possible in the supernatural. And last time I checked, I think we serve a supernatural God. We serve the only true and living God that does supernatural things. Well, I can't tell. You came in talking about, oh.
No, I was just breathing. You know what? Why you cussing?
Hello.
Hey.
Welcome. Please get
Reverend
comfortable.
Tanya, Reverend Sharp. How you doing, man?
I'm good, beautiful. How are you?
I'm fine, buddy. How you doing?
Good to see you.
Good.
I'm Tamara Fair.
We've heard of you.
Oh, you have?
Oh, you sit right here.
Reverend Tanya.
Yes,
Did you look over the place to see if you like it?
Let me speak to you. What's your name? I'm Karan. Pastor Sean. Pastor Sean.
Thank you.
Good man.
Yeah.
Is this the same room that Sonya Blakely used to be in?
Mm-hmm.
Is she still in here?
Yep. We just hit 1 hour a day, 1 hour of power. We get about the way.
And then she comes back to regain her throne, like the queen she is.
She does morning and afternoon?
No, not anymore. She used to.
She coming out to record. Oh, for the morning.
You know, she got a few different shows too, in different cities and stuff like that.
And right now, Secure Home and Automation is offering an exclusive deal for new customers. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 866-447-3343.
Don't wait
Yeah,
until
when
it's
Deborah
too
texted
late.
me and she texted Tammy, and we were both trying to figure out dates because the week been busy, and then they confirmed today, and I'm like, oh, I wasn't supposed to be here today, by the way. I came in just for you all. I am going to an important event when I leave here.
You pushed it back a little bit.
I told them I was running a little late.
You want to share?
I'm closing on my new home.
Come on.
Yeah.
Very
At 12:30, but I told them I'd be there by 1.
Okay.
You know?
1 minute.
And then we're going to dedicate the show tomorrow, Throwback Thursday, in honor of Mama Lou that played.
Mom will be happy.
It's my girl. That's my girl. I always enjoyed to have her up here.
Yeah.
Well, on Thursdays, we start our show with
What a fellowship.
Yeah.
And we ended with all night, all day, every Thursday.
Every
Every
Thursday.
Thursday.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Man, thank y'all.
30 seconds, 30 seconds.
Well, you should know that because you should be
listening. Yeah, you know what, Tammy? Get them, Tammy.
Someone thank y'all. Like this is news to you.
Man, it is. I'm sorry. I'm going to tune in now.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
If you don't tune in any other day, Thursday is your day.
I got you.
Put that in your alerts.
I promise you I will.
Okay. Now, I got a
What's
promise
going
from
on?
a pastor.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be law.
Take it to the bank.
Take it to the bank.
Going in.
We work for you. Where's the action, Jackson? I'll tell you what's going on.
So what's going on today on the Brunch Bunch? We're joined by the dynamic and visionary Reverend Reginald Wayne Sharp Jr., senior pastor of Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church in Chicago, a proud Morehouse man with advanced degrees from Vanderbilt and Emory. Reverend Sharp leads one of the city's most historic churches, once pastored by the late, great, legendary Reverend Dr. Clay Evans. Since stepping into leadership, he's welcomed thousands of new members, launched initiatives in innovative ministries like the virtual ship, and invested deeply in community impact. He is joined by the one and only Reverend Tanya Johnson, Evans family member, the daughter of Mama Ludella Evans Reed, and we are grateful to have them both with us today to honor the life and the legacy of one of Chicago's finest, gospel music industry finest, Kingdom's finest. Yeah. Mama, Dr. Ludella Evans Reed. Let's give him a warm Brunch Bunch welcome.
Thank you. We are super excited to have you.
Thank you,
and to have that legacy, and you now be at the helm of that legacy. Now I'm going to ask you something that's cliche-ish, but I know you're going to come back with a non-cliche. How does it feel?
You know, I still pinch myself. I cannot believe God has trusted me to lead this church. And I'm happy that we're in our 75th year. This year is the 6th year of my pastorate. Wow. So I've been here for a minute now.
Yeah.
But to come behind legends and giants like Pastor Clay Evans and Pastor Charles Jenkins, it is an honor to stand on their shoulders. So it's really an honor.
Now let me ask you something. Do you have to be able to sing in order to pastor this church?
I didn't think so, but I think so now.
You think so now?
Because the more I hang around, I said, if you can't sing and be in fellowship, it's gonna be a sad day.
Well, you be singing, preacher. Listen. We may have to get a little more than we ever. Listen, that is my testimony today. Don't get me started. But Reverend Tanya, you are the daughter, an amazing caretaker for your mother. You and your family done an amazing job. And when you saw Mama Lou up until God called her home, she didn't even look like she needed a caretaker, but you had her back. So how are you doing?
Overall, I feel I'm doing very well under the circumstances with the help of the Lord and the prayers of the saints. I'm sure that's what's carrying me.
Mm.
And so, in the thought that I know, I'm going to see my mother again.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I can endure with God's help and the amazing amount of support, love, and help from my pastor.
Mm.
He has been wonderful, has not left my or our family's side. And the good people of fellowship and all those around the world that's wishing well and praying for us, we're making it fairly well, I say. And thank you to everyone. Where we couldn't get a hold to you personally to say thank you, I say thank you and God bless you now.
Yeah. Wow. Before we go, I do want to just mention my mother. I called this weekend and she was just crying. Oh. And I said, Mom, what's wrong? She said, I know it's all right. And I know we all got to get up out of here. She said, but to hear Mama Lou, and she said, I just started thinking of my parents and Reverend Evans and growing up in fellowship. She said, and Shipites all over the world are mourning right now. And so that lets you know the life that she lived.
And it is worldwide because the impact that you all have made as a family of pastoral inspiration, literally the entire world is mourning. So to start with, can you share your personal reflections on Dr. Ludella Evans Reed and what made her such a powerful and lasting figure in the gospel community?
Well, Mother Lou,
not with an E-R, A, Mother.
Mama Lou, we called her. Dr. Ludella Evans Reed helped her brother found fellowship in 1950. She was the only woman, and she would tell you, I was the only woman. And she said, thank God I'm not the only woman now.
Mm-hmm.
But her legacy is in the music. industry, gospel music. And for her, it was never industry, it was always ministry. And she mothered the choir, she mothered the music ministry of fellowship. And then her heart was so genuine that she was a Sunday school teacher. Even after retirement from the music ministry, she went over to First Church of Deliverance and taught their Sunday school, some of their Sunday school classes. She was a genuine, dedicated disciple of Jesus. And for her, it was not performative. When she was directing a choir with all of that energy and all of that fire and all of that demonstrative energy, it was not a performance for her. It was really an extension of her true faith in God. When she said it is well with my soul, she meant it. When she said even me, Lord, she meant it. When she was directing, what a fellowship, leaning on the everlasting arm, those weren't just words to sing. Those were words that were the foundation of the life she lived. And I believe her impact is going to live on. I'm doing the eulogy on Saturday by her request.
What an
I
honor.
didn't sign myself up for something that heavy. But the Lord gave me peace because I said, how do you say final words about a life that big? And the Lord said, it's not your responsibility to say the final words. Just say good words. Because we're going to talk about her life and legacy for the rest of our lives.
That's it.
So she lives on.
Reverend Tanya, growing up with a legend like Mama Lou, you've got to see front and center her making gospel history. How would you describe the spiritual and musical legacy Mama Lou helped build alongside your uncle, Reverend Dr. Clay Evans?
Well, one thing about it, by them being brother and sister, they were taught by my grandparents for them to stick together.
Mm-hmm.
That when they decided to leave home, my grandfather did this with his hands, clasped them together in between figures, and said, y'all stick together. Now, that's part of the sticking together and being who she was to Reverend. And then I believe her spiritual experience, training, all that from Tennessee, it just really came to Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And so once they started, my uncle had some experience as far as, church and Christ, and my mother with music there. And I think they just carried it over. And so them being together as brother and sister, and then with my other two uncles, my late Uncle Ferris, my late Uncle Joe, being a family, and then the two friends from Brownsville, Bond, and the other one, they just kind of brought it together, I think, as a family and friends, and just the religious aspect of it, the relational aspect of it with God started from there. And a lot of times, what I understand back in the day, a lot of people would come when they heard them on the radio, a lot of down home people. They just started coming from Gary all over the city. And so I think that's kind of the foundation of how they got started, and people started joining and coming. And so Mom was used to all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it just showed up in Chicago with them.
Wow.
It's the Southern way, right?
Yeah.
That's right, it was.
And that's what she was known for. She, as large as her name was, she was so personable. She would hug you, she would remember your name, send you a Christmas card. Aww. So there was a sweetness to her and a genuineness to her that I think was huge and appreciated.
That I hope lives on.
You don't have to hope that. You can.
And others. Look,
and
she
others.
had it, but we need more people to have that.
Well, because you look at Reverend Clay, he's been gone for a while, right? But he's still here, right? And he's actually been called a pioneer and a prophet. So in your estimation, and this question is for both of you, but in your estimation, how would you say that Dr. Ludella will be remembered, and what will be the adjective that will describe her?
Off the top of my head, I would have to say dedication.
Dedication.
Everything she put her hands to, she gave it all she had. She was interviewed really at the top of May. We celebrated her life. I'm very proud that we did not wait until her 95th birthday to celebrate her, because she ended up passing 2 days before her actual 95th birthday.
Wow.
But we had a birthday party, and she was interviewed, and in her own words, somebody asked her, I think Nate asked,
Exactly.
what do you want to be remembered for? She said, I gave it all I had.
Is that not profound?
I gave it all I had.
You know, that happened to Betty White. She was planning her 100th birthday.
Yes, she did not make it, I don't think.
4 days before her party, She passed away. But that just lets you know that they had a party over
Let
there.
me tell you something. It's a different kind of party.
It's a
It's a
different
different
type
kind
of
of
party.
Different kind of party.
Now, what we did, and when we come back, I want to hear some stories of Mama Lou. I want you to share some memory. But we were able to pull some songs. And one thing about Mama Lou, and even at First Church and at Fellowship, she loved hymns.
Oh, absolutely.
And I love hymns and I love traditional gospel music because it sings of the gospel,
Right.
and it encourages you. And so we're going to play a little bit of the hymn medley. Mama Ludella Evans Reed, right here on the Brunch Bunch.
Good job.
Oh, Mama Lou.
Yes.
Thank y'all for having us.
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
no.
You're really lifting our hearts.
Very much so.
Oh, that's so sweet. So they
one of my
they can't
favorite
hear
YouTube
again.
videos is going viral now is when
Am I on
her and
Instagram,
Reverend
Jim?
York was
dancing.
shouting and
Oh,
dancing.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I
That
am?
used to be my favorite when I found it years ago, and now everybody's sharing it. I'm like,
You've been on that.
oh yeah,
I'm getting it. I'm getting to it, y'all.
Mine
Just
is
give me a
everything in
second.
Christ is joy.
Right.
that is actually, you all sang that.
That's almost my favorite.
We don't sing it, but we
But I think what y'all just have, I thought I heard y'all singing
Okay,
it.
Letitia. What's up,
Okay,
Tina?
it made me think of it then.
Mm-hmm.
If you sick,
Right. He's a doctor.
All right.
That's joy, joy, joy.
when she came back out that choir stand,
Oh, yeah.
Reverend Evans around the camera, ducked down.
And she said, I've been sick.
Right. I was in the bed all day yesterday.
He's a doctor. To me, it just felt surreal because it was like the end of an era.
Yes.
And I am very influenced by Fellowship and Reverend Evans and Mama Lou. And so I have at home, most people don't know, and I put them up on Facebook a couple of weeks ago. I collect old pictures. I buy the rights to them. I said one day I'm going to have an exhibit or something. I don't know. They're going to want to see all my stuff I've collected. But it's pictures of Reverend Evans and Jesse Jackson back in the day. And they all come from the Sun Times. So I put them up on his birthday, actually. And I'm like, these guys. And what we're living in now, I quote him. I was in a community meeting yesterday. I said, Reverend Evans said it in the 90s. And have you got good religion? He said, we are living in crucial times, times of uncertainty and unrest. You don't know what politicians are going to do. And I said, man, this is, got to have it.
All religion ain't good.
And they got to have a good relationship.
More so than religion.
Yeah, because the religion, you got to have that
You
relationship.
have the relationship.
That's true.
Yeah.
You won't sign big, beautiful bills.
Hold on.
Okay.
Crystal Harris said, I love Minister Tanya Johnson.
Aww.
Oh, yeah. We know her.
Nikaya, what's up? Crystal Harris is a shipite.
Hey, Nikaya.
That's Miss Ann Harrison's daughter.
Yeah.
You know, your roots were deep in fellowship.
Yes. My auntie Mona was texting. I'm like, I ain't going to be there, auntie. I want to. She said, you got to be there. I said,
Yeah, absolutely. Your grandmother was
I wanted this part to play because she's singing a little bit. Turn it up. All right, bring it in.
Yep.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Even me, Lord, let some drops. Even when I don't think I deserve it, I'm still praying. Even me. That was Mama Ludella Evans Reed and the Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church Choir with a hymn medley. We are honoring the life of Mama Lou, who made her transition, went home to be with the God that she served for almost 95 years. And we have Pastor Reginald Sharp and Reverend Tanya Johnson. Listen, I want to know, and if you can share, just Tanya, one of your favorite Mama Lou stories? Because anybody that really knew she was funny.
Oh,
She
she's a
lived life, and
Yeah.
she was a whippersnapper.
Yeah.
now that was that all that's true. I'm trying to see the which story to tell because she has a few. Oh, of course. Now they would elude me while I'm trying to sit up here and think about them. Oh, I know one. Uh, Mother was a nurse for over 50 years.
Yeah.
And so she was in the hospital visiting one of the doctors. She was a surgical nurse. So she went to the bedside of the doctor she was visiting, one of the employees. And when she stepped in there, they were talking, and all of a sudden the patient started going down. And they had to call for help. It comes to find out Mother was stepping on his oxygen. So she, some of those kind of things. That's that. So
Oh,
To
That's a
God
sto-
be the glory.
yes, absolutely.
Did the man make it?
He made it.
Baby.
They discovered it in time, but they were feverishly looking for it. Where is it? Where? And when they started tracking where the oxygen was, my mother's size feet, I won't say her shoe size, it was on there stopping the oxygen.
Wow.
So that's what.
That's incredible because she gave oxygen to so many people.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what moments or lessons from your mom were you personally were inspired as a preacher, a leader, or even as a woman of faith?
Uh, I said earlier, my mom was in the old days, they would say Wizzy Wig in the computer days.
Mm.
What you see is what you get.
Mm-hmm.
She was a what you see is what you get mother.
yeah.
She was not a different mother in public than she was in private.
Yeah.
She had the same high moral standards, ethics, and she expected us in the family to follow through. So I really admired the fact that my mother was genuine,
Mm-hmm.
that she had godly character, that she had great work ethics, and uh, she was the hardest working woman I've ever known in my life.
Wow.
My mother, her life was pretty much work, church, work, well, family, of course, always work, church, family. And my mother worked at the home feverishly to keep it up. My mom didn't get married again until I was in high school. So we were a house full of children and no real father. My grandfather, we lived with him and my grandmother. So my grandfather, but yet he was old. It wasn't like a man that really stood up like a younger man or husband would be to kind of hold the reins down in the household. And so leadership for my mother came in many forms. A single parent that's leading a household full of children. Then she's in leadership at church.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the kind of memories I have out of my mama that really helped to mold my life. She expected certain things. She taught us manners. She taught us how to be polite. She taught us thank you and yes, ma'am. She taught us how to mind our business.
Mm.
My mom was not a gossiper. And when I was growing
Well,
up,
we should have more of her.
when I was growing up, my mother didn't have a lot of girlfriends.
Oh, okay.
They never came in and out. When she got to church, she was a director and a minister of music, a mother to many, an advisor, a counselor, and she didn't have time. I saw my mother having girlfriends, taking trips and going things when I was having my children and raising them.
Mm-hmm.
And so during that time of being at home with my grandparents, there were six girls of us in the house and my brother, and the other four or five were from my aunt's children. So all that time, she had a lot of great responsibility.
I'll say.
And I think part of her directing with such power, I'm sure it was from the Holy Spirit, but I also believe it stemmed out of her life experiences. She had to make it tough being a single parent with all these people in the house, plus her mother and her father.
Yeah.
She was a nurse during the time that it was a lot of racial tension. She was in an operating room when she said it was just two or three black uh, operating nurses in there. So it was a lot of tension going on there. So I think mom, a lot of life experiences taught her to lean on Jesus.
Mm.
And I think the "it is well" part came in is because she lived long enough to know that if you put your faith in God, He was going to make it be well.
That's
Yeah.
it.
And you
That's
were
it.
going to be okay. So whether it's good right now or whether it's not so good, He's brought me through whatever
Whatever.
the problem. He brought her
Whatever
through.
my lot.
Yeah.
He's taught me to say it's well with my soul.
That is dynamic. Crystal Harris said, and this was the question I wanted to ask you, and then Reverend Sharp, how was it? Crystal said, thank you for sharing her with us. How was that growing up, though? Because you shared her with thousands of people, because fellowship was historically big before we had all these mega churches. How was that sharing your mother?
Oh, it was great. I didn't have a problem. And I tell you one reason why I think is because we were at home with all these children and we didn't have any choice.
Mm.
And you know what? They didn't play with us. I had 3 mothers in the house, my aunt, my mother, and my grandmother.
Wow.
My grandfather, as I said, 6 girls and 1 boy. And then, so I think it came natural. When we went to church, that was our other life. It wasn't just her other life. It was our other life because we couldn't run the streets. But they had so much for us at church, we didn't want to run the streets. We wanted to run the church.
As you did.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
I think that's one thing about fellowship that I love, the essence of the family of
Yes,
fellowship.
Absolutely.
And we are definitely a family.
Yes,
and
we
I
are.
just was thinking about my auntie Mona wedding. It was all shit. But
Yes.
every time you go, everybody is everywhere.
Right.
And I grew up, Mama Lou lived across the street from my Aunt Rose.
Yes.
Okay.
For many years. So every family event, we would go across the street. Pastor Sharp, coming to Chicago from Georgia. Southern young man coming to this big city, big church. You about to take it over. You had giants that led before you. How was that when you met Reverend Evans and Mama Lou for the first time?
Oh, I was nervous. Very nervous, especially meeting Reverend Evans. He was in the bed at that time, bedridden, but his presence was still larger than life. So I was honored to meet him. When I met Mama Lou the first time I preached, I acknowledged her, Dr. Ludella Evans Reed. And I think I didn't sing it because she was there, but I sung Hold to His Hands before I preached. And I think we became friends at that moment. She said, now, who is this 20-something-year-old? Actually, she said, how he know me and he too? That's what she said. She said I was 2 years old, but I was really 27. And our connection happened there because I actually genuinely enjoy traditional gospel music as well as contemporary music. So we took a picture that day, our first day meeting, and my respect for Mama Lou has remained from that day to this. I told Reverend Tanya too. I knew of Mama Lou before I got up here to Chicago. I knew of fellowship and the choir before I moved to Chicago. I've always respected the music ministry of fellowship. So it was absolutely surreal to meet Mama Lou in person and say, oh, this is the lady I've been watching on YouTube. Me and my friends from Morehouse used to shout, jump out the car and shout in the middle of the street listening to fellowship.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously.
Really?
Never knowing that I would be serving as the pastor one day.
Wow.
Do you remember coming on our show when you first took over?
I do.
Yeah.
Yes, and you were nervous.
And
now you have a calm about you.
Yeah, there's something about the peace of God.
There's something about
when I'm serious. When I first got here, I was filled with a lot of anxiety. But could you imagine knowing a historic church, legendary leaders? Will they accept me? Will the city support me? Will I be able to, with the help of God, to uphold it? But people like Mama Lou and Reverend Tanya, the Evans family, the Jenkins family, Fellowship, Chicago, have been beyond kind to my wife and I. And so I love Chicago.
It's hard to make a Morehouse man nervous. I'm not saying a godly man.
Fellowship.
I'm saying in that other realm, it's still hard to make a Morehouse man nervous.
I'm trying to tell you something. Fellowship don't matter who you are.
Well, that's true.
I've seen the best get nervous coming into fellowship.
Oh, yeah. It's a standard. And
it is.
I just thank God for fellowship. I thank God for Reverend Evans. I thank God for Mama Lou. And I enjoyed anytime she would come on here. When we launched Throwback Thursday, I did a first show, and Mama Lou, we dedicated the whole show, and I said, and every Thursday I'm going to pick another church in Chicago, and I never picked another church. Every Thursday it's always 8 years later, it's still fellowship.
Hey, it's a kinship.
A friendship, a
That's
relationship.
what he would start the show
and that's
out.
what I opened the show with that quote. because I am a Shipite.
You are.
And I got to shout out my Aunt Mona Johnson.
Yeah.
we love
Who,
her.
when my mother, who grew up in fellowship,
Absolutely.
got older, what the old folks say, too big for your britches, and said she wasn't going to church no more. My Aunt Mona would make sure that I can come to church every Sunday. And so I got that experience, and I am excited. I thank God for you, Pastor Sharp.
Bless you.
And you know what? We're going to dedicate another song. I don't know which one it is, but it's a Mama Lou song. He touched me a long time ago.
That's right.
It's fellowship. Mama Ludella Evans Reed. We're honoring the life, the legacy of this giant Mama Lou right here on the Brunch. And I'm going to shout around my house in one of these fellowship songs when I walk in there.
Your new house.
My new house.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
That's big.
Well,
You right. I was nervous. Bree was with me, my wife.
Yeah.
Y'all weren't here though.
We were downstairs because this was 6 years ago. No, literally, you hadn't even taken. You were getting ready to go into. Yeah. Your whole weekend was launching. Your whole weekend. Okay. Your weekend was launching, and you came on prior to the weekend. Yeah.
Terrified.
But you did a great job. And literally, like I have my mainstay is childcare, right? And I have a daycare. One of my attendants, they will run you out of there if you didn't come ready, you didn't come correct. That team will run you out of there. Fellowship same way. If you couldn't stand the test, you wouldn't have been here 6 years.
No. But the pandemic
and you and your
helped.
Morehouse friends would have still been shouting in the street.
In Atlanta. No, the
but
pandemic.
Congratulations.
The pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pandemic was interesting too. That actually helped us. The pandemic.
Yeah.
Because our hearts were able to be knit together. It was such a crisis.
Yeah.
I had to trust the people, and the people had to trust me. So God used that crisis to knit our hearts together.
That makes sense.
Well, a lot of churches went under during the pandemic.
Some did.
Yeah. A lot of them all over the country did because
they weren't
people
prepared.
were nervous. People didn't want to come in congregation with other people because they were afraid of getting infected. And tithings were at an all-time low. Yeah. So, you gotta, it takes money to make anything.
Oh, yes, it does.
Yeah. Even the work of the Lord, it takes money to make it run.
Absolutely.
So what does the Bible say? Money answereth all things. And that's true.
It is.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need money and you need a media team.
Yes, you do.
And some weren't prepared.
You definitely,
the media team had to be up to par.
Yeah.
Because we were all on Facebook and YouTube and couldn't go in the building.
Different technology.
Yeah.
And Zoom.
Right.
Zoom
Lord have mercy.
I was a Zoom customer when they only had 100 customers.
Wow.
And then Zoom blew up.
Because it used to be Skype.
Okay.
Yeah, it used to be Skype. That's that sound. That's that fellowship sound.
You go ahead on, honey. We can tell he touched you.
You're rocking with the Brunch Bunch right here on Inspiration 1390. It's your girl Tamara Fair on the air, and I am super proud that we are honoring the life, the legacy, the legend of Dr. Ludella Evans Reed, Mama Lou, and we have two giants right here in the studio doing us the honor of honoring her, and that is in the spirit of Reverend Reginald Sharp and, of course, Reverend Tanya Johnson. Y'all, we are so excited about just having you here, having you talk about a legend that you all have the experience of actually being around and being influenced by. You know, I know her services are coming up, and you mentioned earlier that you are going to be officiating.
Well, I'm doing the eulogy. Pastor Charles Jenkins, our pastor emeritus, who we love and honor.
We love him on the Brunch Bunch, too.
Oh, yeah. So he'll be officiating, and Mama Lou asked me to do the eulogy about 2 years ago. Right. And the services will be at Apostolic Faith Church, 10 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
The wake will begin at 8:45 a.m. and conclude around 9:45 a.m. But we're looking to kick off the celebration of life officially at 10 a.m. this Saturday at Apostolic Faith Church. Now on Friday, she will lie in state at Fellowship from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. So the city is invited. Please come out and show your support if you are able. But on behalf of the Evans family, of course, her daughter's here with me today.
Mm-hmm.
We just want to let the city know Mama Lou belonged to Chicago just as much as she belonged
She
to
belonged to the
Fellowship.
world.
Yeah, she belonged to all of us. So if you're traveling in, come and pay your respects at Fellowship Friday, 4 to 7. And join us over at Apostolic Church Faith Church. We want to thank Bishop Horace Smith for his kindness and opening the doors for Fellowship in Chicago to come and celebrate her life too.
So, Reverend Tanya, how do you want the world to remember your mom?
I believe she said it as Pastor Sharp said a few minutes ago. She did give it her all.
Mm-hmm.
And her love, her dedication, her all first to God.
Yes.
And then an outflow to the church. And she was so dedicated, faithful. I mean, it was in her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some things we have to do, but other things in it that you can't help but to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my mom.
Mm-hmm.
She could not help but to do what she did. And my mom had a great love for people. And I think people could sense that from her when they met her. So I'd like for them to remember her as a faithful, dedicated, I would say servant, but my mother was a slave to Christ.
Mm.
And so,
if you got a slave to somebody, that's the best one to have as a master.
She was a slave to Christ, in that she loved the people, her church, her pastor, and a fierce love for her family and the people everywhere. And you know, sometimes in church, I think we get it mixed up. We think we're just supposed to love each other, but my mother was a good person to love the world and people where they were.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't go to church. She worked with a lot of people that weren't of the same religion, did not have her sense of values and ethics, but she still knew how to accept them and love them for who they were.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that we can glean something from that in our lives. And so it's many ways, but those are the major ways.
Well, you know what? It's been said from children all over the world time and time again. I didn't understand what my mother was trying to teach me until she was gone. And then all the lessons started flowing, because you don't know that you're listening until she stops talking, right?
Yes.
And so what my mother told me, my mother's still here,
Mm-hmm.
but my mother told me once, I was getting ready to go meet a boyfriend's parents, and I was like, oh, I don't know if they're going to like me. I don't know if they're going to accept me. She said, why are you so worried about that? You should be worried about if you like them. So I say that to you. What are some of the pearls that your mother dropped on you that you will never forget?
Loving God first. My mother ensured that we were exposed to Christ, the church and Christ, and accepted Christ. That was first. The love of people and of others. Also, to be faithful to whatever you're called to do.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone's going. We all have different callings, but you know what? Be faithful. And she would say sometimes, "Be thou faithful unto the end, and I shall give you a crown of life."
Mm-hmm.
Be faithful. So those kind of and to sum it up, like the song that she loved too was, "It pays to serve Jesus."
Oh yeah.
My mother loved that song, and people that would sing it because she had lived it.
Yes.
And so those are some of the pearls that I think I could leave with people about my mom.
Excellent pearls.
Thank you.
So Reverend Sharp,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
are the senior pastor at Fellowship. What's next for Fellowship?
What a question. Mama Lou told us during the church anniversary probably 2 years ago, when I asked her, what is your prayer for this church that you hope we always remember? She said, be for real. Always be for real. Keep the main thing the main thing. It's all about him now. And then she pointed that finger up and said, now it's all about him. Now, if you're going to do anything, it has to be about him. So I just pray that we stay grounded in the Word of God, carrying out the will of God. Listen, loving people, no matter what season they find themselves in. Being a church that doesn't just have church, but a church that wants to be the church, where we go and impact the community, continue to help our young people go to school, provide resources for those dealing with mental illnesses or those who are dealing with physical illnesses or financial burdens. I just want fellowship to continue to be literally the ship. That's our nickname. The ship that picks up passengers no matter where they are on the journey, and they find safety and serenity until they make it to the other shore. I pray that we never lose that, because that's what Reverend Evans and Mama Lou tried to make fellowship. And it's been that way 75 years, and I pray it never changes, that our light never dims.
Wow. Well, that's a dynamic pathway, and I'm sure you are up for the task to continue the
Pray for
leadership.
me.
We definitely are. We continue to. I remember when you came the first time, as I said, when we were off air, and you had such an impact on us, and now you're having that same impact
Thank you.
on the church and everyone that's around. And I love to hear the fact that the church actually works like churches used to. When you had a problem and you wanted to come, not if mental or financial or physical, people come from the church and they pray for you at your time of need, but they also come and help you at your time of need, not just tell you, well, good luck and we praying for you.
No, help the people.
Yeah, because it's in your deeds, not just in your word, right?
Come on here.
Yes, you better come on
I gotta
back.
say one thing.
Yes.
Reverend Tanya Johnson took care of her mother. And I want to say thank you publicly to you. I want the world to know, any listeners to know, that Reverend Tanya Johnson loved her mother. She wasn't putting on a show. She said she did it from pure love, and it was obvious. So thank you for the way you took care of your mother, not just publicly, but privately, because you made her latter years very, very sweet. And we owe you a great debt of love and honor, because you did what the Bible says. You honored your mother until her last breath.
Amen.
And so thank you for being you.
Well, I would say you're welcome, but I really just did it for that. And let me counter it to this degree. Thanks goes more than one way. Pastor Sharp, and I don't know if I've said it, he's never left our side. He has made available to both to me and us and our family anything we needed. And I thank you. You made her latter days great, too. Thank you.
Well, both of you all have made this show great. You've made her legacy great, and we want to thank you. Come back. I know that this is going to be a hard time, but just know that you got warriors out here praying for you, rooting for you, and making sure that you are steeped in the love that the God has given you.
Thank you.
Y'all, it's time for us to get out of here. It's been a great show. We always want to encourage you to keep Love 24 alive. Tell someone that you don't know, the perfect stranger, that you love them, and show someone that you do know how much you love them. Lead with love. Land on love. We love you, believers. Stay optimistic. Woo, that was close.
We did that.
You made it.
that. Y'all,
Sorry.
thank you so much.
Absolutely.
For those of you
Our
all who
pleasure.
want to honor Mama Lou, you all definitely have the information. We're going to post it on all of our socials where you